Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
My phone rang at 2:47 a.m., and before I even opened my eyes, I knew something bad had happened. No one calls at that hour with good news. The screen lit up with Carla's name, and my stomach dropped. I picked up fast, heart already racing. Jenny! She was crying so hard I barely understood her. Uncle Hank passed, in his sleep, at the care home. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I sat up straight in bed, blanket tangled around my legs. Wait, what? Are you serious? He's gone. They said he went sometime last night. They just called Aunt Linda. Nobody knows what to do. Everyone's a mess. I rubbed my forehead, trying to make my brain work. Uncle Hank, dead. It hit harder than I expected. He was tough as nails, a Marine for 20 years, survived 2 heart attacks, beat prostate cancer, and now he just stopped breathing. Is everyone okay? I asked. No, Carla sniffed. Linda's barely functioning. Ray's pacing. I called Mom and she's sobbing. Jenny, look, we need you. We need you to handle everything. I went quiet. This was the part I was dreading. Carla, I've got 3 active contracts. 2 of them have deadlines this week. I'm barely keeping up. I know, she said quickly. But you're the only one who can do this. You're the organized one. You always know how to handle this kind of stuff. We're all falling apart over here. Please, Jen. I got out of bed, still holding the phone to my ear, and flipped on the hallway light. My apartment looked cold and hollow in that moment, like it already knew I wasn't staying. Where is he now? I asked. The funeral home already picked him up. Linda wants him buried next to Grandpa in Albany. We need someone to talk to the VA, file the death certs, deal with the bank accounts, all that stuff. Nobody even knows where to start. You're just better at this. I sighed, long and hard. How soon do you need me up there? Tomorrow, if you can. Everyone's too out of it to function. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. I just told her I'd figure it out and hung up. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I opened my laptop and started scanning my work calendar. One contract I could probably extend by a few days. Another was screwed no matter what. If I bailed now, the client might not come back. But what was I supposed to do? Say no and let my whole family think I'm cold. By 3:30, I was stuffing clothes into a duffel bag and grabbing my laptop charger. I stood in the middle of my apartment, staring at the bag, already calculating the income I'd probably lose by driving upstate. By the time I pulled into Aunt Linda's driveway, it was almost 11 a.m. The sky was overcast, humid as hell, and my shirt was sticking to my back from the 6-hour drive. Her house was already packed, cars lined up along the curb, front door wide open like they were expecting a damn parade. I stepped inside and the smell hit first. Cheap coffee, too much perfume, and that heavy sour scent of grief that always clings to the walls after someone dies. Jenny! Carla ran up and wrapped her arms around me. Thank God. Behind her, I saw the whole family. Cousins, uncles, distant relatives I hadn't seen since Grandpa's funeral. All of them looked stressed, tired, like no one had slept. A few gave me quick hugs. Some didn't even bother pretending they weren't relieved. Uncle Ray clapped me on the shoulder and said, half laughing, "Good thing you're here. You always know what to do." I didn't even get a chance to sit before Aunt Linda appeared from the hallway, holding 2 overstuffed folders and a plastic grocery bag full of envelopes. Hank kept everything in here, she said, dropping it all on the dining room table like it was my assigned homework. Banking, military stuff, house papers, car, benefits. I don't know what any of it means. I looked down. One folder was bent from being overfilled. The bag had unopened mail from the VA, Social Security, and at least 3 banks. I pulled out a chair. All right, let me start sorting this. Nobody else sat. They just drifted back to the living room. Like handing me that stack officially transferred the problem. I started flipping through the papers. Honorable discharge certificates, pension stubs, insurance forms, car titles, house deed, utility bills. Some of it was years old, some clearly unopened. A few things had coffee stains. One had mold on the edge. Does anyone know who his financial advisor was? I asked. Crickets. What about login info? Emails, passwords? Carla peeked her head around the corner. Check his phone. I think Ray has it. Ray, I called out. Do you have Uncle Hank's phone? He came in and handed it over like it was covered in anthrax. We couldn't get into it. Nobody knows the code. Okay, then I'll add phone access to the list. I pulled out my notebook and started writing. Death certificates, VA survivor benefits, car title transfer, house ownership verification, bank account access. Cancel utilities. 15 minutes in, I realized there were at least 20 things that had to happen in the next 3 days, and that was just a start. I opened a letter from one of the banks. It was a notice that an account had been flagged for inactivity and might close. Hey, who's on the mortgage? I asked. Is it just Hank? Linda poked her head in again. I think so. Or maybe my name too. I can't remember. We paid it off a while ago, I think. You think? She shrugged. That's why we need you, honey. You're the smart one. Yeah, smart enough to realize this was spiraling. Is anyone working on the funeral arrangements? I asked. Oh no, we figured you'd want to take care of that, Carla said, like she was offering me a gift. I didn't answer. I just stared at the paperwork until she backed out again. Every 20 minutes, someone would wander in. How's it going? Do you need anything? Are you almost done? Each time I said the same thing. It's going to take a while. They'd nod, pretend they understood, then go right back to the couch. Not one person offered to help. Not even to Google something. Just assumed I'd figure it out, like always. By 3 o'clock, I had Hank's military pension forms half filled, a to-do list 3 pages long, and 2 funeral homes bookmarked on my laptop. My head hurt, my stomach was empty, and I hadn't even looked at my own work inbox yet. I grabbed another unopened envelope, ripped it open, and scanned it. Tax refund check from last year, still uncashed. I leaned back, looked at the mountain of crap in front of me, and thought, this isn't help. This is a full-time job. I got up and walked to the kitchen without saying a word, grabbed a can of Coke from the fridge, and popped it open with one hand. The hiss was the loudest sound in the house. I took that Coke back to the table, sat down, and didn't get up again for 5 hours. The next morning started early. I was on the phone with Heritage Hill Funeral Home by 7:30, reading off Uncle Hank's discharge numbers while my laptop booted up. The woman on the other end kept saying, like I was ordering a pizza, not planning a burial. Then came Veterans Affairs. I had to fax them a copy of the death certificate, which I didn't have yet, along with a notarized form, proof of service, and Aunt Linda's ID. Except she didn't know where her ID was, or how to scan anything, or how to use the printer. So now I was hunting for documents and teaching basic tech support between calls. Then Social Security. Their office had a 3-hour hold time, and when I finally got someone, they told me they couldn't confirm benefits until they processed the death through their system. I needed a funeral director to submit it first. Every step made 5 more steps. I hadn't even touched the insurance paperwork yet. Hank had 2 old policies, and a third one no one could confirm was still active. One company was out of business, absorbed by some larger firm. The number on the letter didn't work. I ended up on hold with an insurance broker in Des Moines who told me, "We'll need you to send an official letter of representation from the family." I said, "I am the family." He replied, "Legally speaking, we need it in writing." By noon, I'd missed 3 client emails and 2 deadlines. I called them, explained the situation as fast as I could. One of them, Donna, a startup founder in Chicago, was blunt. "Jenny, I get it, but we have a launch this weekend. If you can't meet deadlines, we'll need to move forward without you." I kept it professional, thanked her, hung up, and stared at the screen. That contract was worth almost $4,000. Gone. And I was sitting in someone else's dining room doing estate admin for free. That night, I tried eating dinner with the rest of the family. I lasted 10 minutes. The moment I sat down, someone asked, "Did you call the VA yet?" Another asked, "Are we still doing the burial in Albany?" A third said, "Can you make sure Mom gets reimbursed for the nursing home payments?" I stood up, walked away, and didn't say a word. The next morning, I was halfway through printing VA forms when Lance, my cousin from Syracuse, strolled in with a mug of coffee and said, "Damn, Jen, you're really killing it." I wouldn't even know where to start with this stuff. I didn't look up. You could ask, what? You could ask where to start, or Google it, or pick up the phone. It's not witchcraft. He chuckled like I was joking. Nah, but seriously, you're just better at this kind of stuff. I dropped my pen. Do you think I was born knowing how to fill out federal pension claim forms? He blinked. No, I just meant, you meant it's easier to dump it on me because I won't complain loud enough to stop you. He opened his mouth, then closed it and left the room. That afternoon, I made a spreadsheet of everything left. Bank transfers, title change forms, property records, taxes. Hank had no will. which meant probate court, which meant at least 6 months of follow-ups. Aunt Linda came in around 4. Do we need to pay anything upfront for the cemetery? Yes, I said, and I already called. It's due Friday. $2,600. She blinked, surprised. Oh, can you take care of that? With whose money? Well, Hank's, which we can't touch yet. She got quiet. I took a deep breath and said, Linda, I'm not a lawyer. Or a funeral director. I'm not even local. I've already lost a client. She looked uncomfortable, like I'd broken some family code by saying that out loud. I just thought you'd know what to do. That was the line, over and over, you always know what to do. But knowing how to do something isn't the same as having the time, the energy, or the support to do it all alone. That night, I closed my laptop, stared at the stacks of paper on the table, and realized something cold and simple. I wasn't the helper anymore. I was the unpaid staff. I was still sitting at the dining table, drowning in tax forms and half-drunk coffee, when my phone buzzed with an unknown Denver number. I almost didn't pick up, figured it was another insurance office or a callback from the VA, but something told me to answer. Hello, I said, holding the phone between my ear and shoulder as I dug for Hank's birth certificate. Hi, is this Jenny Calhoun? Yes, speaking. This is Nicole Tran. We met briefly at the Logistics Expo in Dallas last month. I was on the operations panel. Oh, yeah, of course. You talked about vendor redundancy systems. I remember. She laughed. Wow, good memory. Anyway, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I've been meaning to reach out. We just had a senior coordinator role open up at Tier 1 events in Denver, and your name came up. I reviewed your portfolio after we met, and frankly, it was impressive. I stopped moving. We'd love to offer you the position, she went on, like she was telling me the weather. Full-time, full benefits, great clients, tech, finance, live production. You'd be leading 2 junior planners, reporting directly to me. Base salaries 93 plus bonuses. We'd need you to start Monday. I didn't speak. For a second, I wasn't even breathing. Still with me? She asked. Yeah, sorry, just surprised. I understand it's short notice, but I wanted to call before the role went wider. If you're interested, I can send the offer packet tonight. You'd have until tomorrow morning to give us an answer. I'm definitely interested. I just need a little time to sort some things out. Totally fine, she said. I'll send the email shortly. Looking forward to hearing from you, Jenny. When she hung up, I just sat there. My hand was still on Hank's death certificate, but it felt like I was holding a live wire. 93, full benefits, direct report. It was everything I'd worked toward for the past 5 years. Projects that actually mattered, clients that respected me, not nickel and dime contract gigs with zero security. It meant stability, healthcare, a career, and it started Monday. I looked around the table. The paperwork mountain hadn't shrunk. The family was still in the next room, watching reruns and eating cold lasagna. Nothing had changed, except now, everything had. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept running numbers in my head, how long it would take to wrap Hank's estate, whether I could hand it off, what damage walking away would do to the family's opinion of me. Would they even speak to me after? At 1:12 a.m., I gave up trying and called Tasha. She answered on the second ring, groggy. Girl, it's past 1. You good? No, not even close. I need you to talk me down. Did someone die again? I ignored that. Nicole Tran called me today. From Tier 1. She offered me a full-time job. Starts Monday. There was a pause, then, you're joking. I wish. It's everything I want. But I'm stuck here doing funeral logistics and probate prep for free, and I have no idea how to get out. Tasha sat up. I could hear her sheets rustle. Jenny, this is why people hire estate lawyers. You are not their employee. They're not gonna understand. They think I'm the only one who can handle this. They'll guilt me until I cave. So what? Let them be mad. Let them sit in it. You've been spoon-feeding them life support since you were 20. Stop. I didn't respond. Jenny, this isn't your legacy. You don't owe them your career. If you give this up, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. My throat tightened. She said softer, you don't have to fix them. Just fix your exit. I laid back on the guest bed, staring at the ceiling in the dark, holding the phone to my chest. For once, I had a future worth choosing. I just had to be willing to choose it. I was still lying on the guest bed when the sun started cutting through the blinds. My eyes burned from not sleeping, but my brain wouldn't shut up long enough to let me rest. Tasha's voice kept looping in my head. Fix your exit. By 7 a.m., I was downstairs at the kitchen table with my laptop open and a mug of stale coffee in hand. Everyone else was still asleep. I searched probate lawyers near Albany, found 3 firms with decent reviews. The first was booked through October. The second only handled contested estates. The third picked up on the second ring. Do you handle probate for veterans' estates? I asked. Absolutely, the assistant said. We've handled over 500 cases. Do you have the death certificate yet? I do. No will, house paid off, military pension involved. I've already started the paperwork. Sounds like you've done the heavy lifting. We just need you to bring in what you've got so we can take it from there. I booked a consultation for Monday at 10 a.m. That gave me a clean handoff. I closed my laptop and called Nicole before I could second-guess anything. Hey, Jenny, she answered. Hope you got some sleep. A little. Listen, I want to accept the offer. That's great news, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. But I have one ask. Can I push the start to Tuesday? I have to finish up some family business Monday morning. Absolutely, not a problem. I'll update the packet and resend today. I thanked her and hung up. My heart was pounding, but not from fear this time. I hadn't even started packing, but for the first time in a week, I could breathe. By mid-morning, I had printed contact sheets, logged passwords, drafted a full checklist of where things stood, bank contacts, pending applications, needed documents. I color-coded it by urgency and even added bullet points explaining next steps. Then I texted the family group chat. Family meeting at 3 p.m. dining room. Please be on time. At 3:04, they shuffled in like I was hosting a yard sale. Aunt Linda sat at the head. Uncle Ray leaned against the wall. Carla, Lance, and a few others sat on the couch, whispering. I stood. I'm leaving Monday afternoon. The room went silent. I've arranged for a probate attorney to take over. The paperwork's here. The checklist is up to date. Contacts, passwords, account info, everything's labeled. Aunt Linda's voice cracked. But you're the only one who understands all this. I understand it because I taught myself while doing the work, which any of you could have done. Carla frowned. You're mad. Just say it. I'm not mad, I said. I'm done. There's a difference. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm giving you a better option than me doing this unpaid while watching my actual career fall apart. Ray snorted. We never asked for all that drama. It's not drama. It's logistics, I snapped. You needed someone to coordinate a full estate process, and instead of hiring help, you assumed I'd absorb it without complaint. But Hank would have wanted you to handle this, Ray said louder this time. You were his favorite. I stared at him. Hank would have wanted it handled right. With professionals, not dumped on his niece who happened to be good at spreadsheets. Linda stood up, tears in her eyes. We didn't know what to do. We leaned on you because we trust you. And I appreciate that, I said, calmer now. But trust doesn't mean turning me into the family's free labor. I've lined everything up. I've done more than enough. Nobody responded. Just shifting in chairs, blank faces. I reached over, tapped the folder. This is your roadmap. The lawyer will walk you through the rest. I'll be here for the funeral, but I'm leaving right after. Still silence. Finally, Carla said, So that's it. That's it. I gathered the papers and stacked them neatly. I love this family, but I have to choose myself now. I walked out of the room and shut the door behind me before anyone could say another word. I went straight upstairs, shut the door, and locked it behind me. Sunday morning, I was up early. No one else stirred while I sorted the folders on the dining room table. I made one for legal documents, one for military benefits, one for property and banking, and another labeled To Do, attorney only. Every sheet was copied, labeled, color-coded, and clipped. I sent the lawyer an email with attachments, CC'd Aunt Linda and Carla, and made sure the subject line was blunt. Transition packet, estate management. By noon, the text started. Carla, can you just stay one more week? You've done so much already. Aunt Linda, it's only fair you finish what you started. Lance, we're not trying to pressure you, but it'd be easier if you were still here. I didn't reply. I just kept working. I forwarded every password and account login I had. I emailed instructions for burial payments, cemetery contact info, and a link to a guide on filing VA survivor claims. I even printed hard copies. By the time I was done, the dining room table looked like an exhibit. Every folder, every document neatly stacked in the center. It was cleaner and more organized than anything in that house had been in years. I stood back and stared at it like a job site I was walking away from, because that's exactly what it was. Later that afternoon, I told Linda, I'll stay through the funeral Monday morning. After that, I'm leaving. She didn't fight, not out loud anyway, just gave me a nod and blinked a lot. I could tell she wanted to say something, guilt me again. But maybe even she knew it wouldn't work anymore. Upstairs, I packed fast. My laptop, notebooks, charger, travel bag, the same one I'd stuffed half awake a week ago. I booked a hotel in Denver for Monday night and mapped out the 6-hour drive. No ceremony, no dramatic goodbye, just logistics. That night, the house was quiet. Too quiet. No one was watching TV. No one was in the kitchen. It felt like the place knew I was leaving. I walked through the hallway, past Hank's bedroom. The door was open. His old Marine jacket still hung on the back of the chair. His boots were lined up neatly next to the closet like he might walk in and grab them at any second. I stepped inside, looked around the room, his fishing trophies, the wood frame photo of him and Grandpa in their uniforms, the stack of old Field and Stream magazines by the bed. The man had spent his whole life in service, to the country, to the family, and I'd spent mine patching holes and filling in gaps because no one else would step up. I sat on the edge of his bed, just for a second. The mattress barely moved under me. How many birthdays had I missed to help them with something urgent? How many weekends? Breakups, jobs I turned down, plans I canceled, just to show up when nobody else wanted to. Too many to count. I stood up, walked out of the room, and turned off the light. Tomorrow, I'd be at his funeral. And then I'd be gone. For real this time. The morning of the funeral was cold for late August. Heavy clouds, no sun, and a sharp wind that kept catching the edge of the tent at the cemetery. I wore a black blazer over my dress and still shivered. The service was respectful, tightly run. 2 Marines in dress blues folded the flag and handed it to Aunt Linda. She clutched it like it might shatter. A chaplain read Hank's service record, his deployments, medals, years served. Carla gave a short speech about how Hank taught her how to fish. Lance read a Bible verse. Even Ray held it together long enough to say, he was tough as nails, but he showed up when it mattered. For the first time all week, I let the emotion hit me. I missed him. Not the paperwork, not the estate, him. He'd been the only one who called me kid after Grandpa died. The only one who said thank you every single time I helped out. He never expected it. That's what made it different. We walked to the graveside in silence, wind rustling through the trees. The coffin lowered into the ground while a bugler played taps from a distance. I stood with my hands in my pockets, holding back tears. Then, right as the pastor was wrapping up, Aunt Linda cleared her throat, loud enough for everyone to hear. I just want to say how grateful we are to Jenny, she said, stepping forward. She's done so much already. And she'll be handling the rest of the estate going forward. Heads nodded. Someone clapped. Someone else said, thank God for Jenny. I froze. What? My mouth opened, then shut. I waited for someone to correct her. Carla, maybe, or Ray. But nobody said a word. They just let it hang in the air like gospel, like it had been agreed on behind my back. I stared at Linda, who gave me a grateful little smile like she'd just handed me an award. My fists clenched in my coat pockets. The folders, the emails, the checklists. I'd done everything short of taking out a billboard to make it clear I was done. And now, at his grave, she was pulling me back in like nothing had changed. Number, not this time. I turned, stepped away from the group, and kept walking. Across the grass, past the cars, straight to mine. I didn't say goodbye, didn't hug anyone. I slid into the driver's seat, shut the door, and started the engine. Halfway down the cemetery road, my phone started buzzing in the console. Carla, then Linda, then Ray. I didn't answer. I pulled over just long enough to grab the phone, hold down the button, and shut the whole thing off. Then I merged onto the highway, and I did not look back. I rolled into Denver just after 9:30 p.m., headlights bouncing off the wet pavement. I'd driven 6 hours with the radio off and my phone powered down in the glove box. Silence was the only thing I could handle. The hotel wasn't fancy, just clean and quiet. I checked in, hauled my bag upstairs, and collapsed onto the bed like a dropped suitcase. For 10 minutes, I didn't move. Then I remembered tomorrow was day 1. I sat up, pulled my laptop out, and ran through the onboarding packet Nicole sent. Dress code, business casual, office hours, 9 to 6. Assigned team, 3 event assistants, 1 logistics analyst. My title, Senior Coordinator, National Accounts. I laid my blazer over the chair, set 2 alarms, and passed out without brushing my teeth. By 9:15 the next morning, I was in the Tier 1 lobby, wearing real slacks and a smile I hadn't used in months. Marcus, my new supervisor, met me at the front desk. "Jenny, right. Glad you're here." He shook my hand like he actually meant it. "Come on, I'll give you the tour." The place was alive. Phones ringing, whiteboards covered in timelines, people zipping by with color-coded folders and iced coffees. Marcus walked me past the client success pods and into ops. "You'll be over here with national accounts. 2 product launches and 1 healthcare summit already on your calendar. Everyone knows you're coming in with field experience, so don't be shy." I wasn't. For the first time, I didn't have to shrink myself down or over-explain why I knew what I was doing. These people got it. By the end of the day, I'd already built 2 vendor matrices and fixed a broken Gantt chart. Marcus leaned over my desk and said, "Okay, I see why Nicole hunted you down." And here's the thing, I got paid for every second of it. I didn't touch my phone until Wednesday morning. I held my breath as I turned it on, waiting for the flood. It didn't disappoint. 12 voicemails, 43 texts. Linda's voice in the first one. "I don't understand why you're ignoring us." Carla, "Jenny, please just explain what happened." Ray, "You walking out like that was low." I didn't respond. I didn't even listen to the rest. But by that afternoon, a new voicemail came in, from Carla again, but this time her tone had changed. "We hired the probate lawyer. He said everything you left was perfect. The contact sheets, the folders. He said it saved us weeks. I guess we weren't being fair." 10 minutes later, Ray texted me. Just one line. "Should have let you go from the start. I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long time, not because I needed it, but because I never thought I'd hear it from him. Then I locked my phone, shoved it in my purse, and went right back to work. 3 months later, I was standing in the middle of a conference center in Scottsdale, clipboard in one hand, headset in the other, coordinating an aerospace summit with 4 keynote speakers, a last-minute Wi-Fi outage, and 2 vendor trucks that had parked in the wrong loading zone. I'd just gotten off a call with the fire marshal when Carla's name lit up my phone. I stepped outside, leaned against the loading dock, and answered. "Hey," I said, still watching a crew unload signage. "Hey," she said, voice calm this time. "I just wanted to let you know. Everything's done." "What do you mean done?" "The estate. Probate wrapped last week. Lawyer said we're clear. House sold, car transferred, accounts closed. All of it." I exhaled, slow. "Wow, that's huge." "Yeah. It took a while, but it's finally over." I waited, expecting something else. And then it came. "We should have hired help from the start," she said. "You told us." "We didn't listen." "I didn't say anything," she added. "You leaving forced us to grow up a little." That one hit. "Thanks for saying that," I finally replied. She hesitated. "Also, congrats on the promotion. Word travels fast in families, even when you don't answer every group text. I'd been promoted to project lead the week before. I was managing 3 full-time coordinators and overseeing multi-million-dollar event contracts." "Thanks," I said, trying to sound casual, but I couldn't help the smile. After we hung up, I looked up at the Arizona sky, cloudless, burning, bright, and thought, this is what happens when you stop making yourself the safety net. 6 months later, I got another call, this time from Aunt Linda. "Don't worry," she said first thing. "We're not asking for help, just advice." "Okay, it's Grandpa. He needs full-time care now. Doctor says we shouldn't wait." I braced myself. She continued. "So we've hired a care coordinator. Professional. She'll manage the nursing home transition and insurance stuff." "Wow," I said. "That's smart." Linda let out a nervous laugh. "Carla found her. Lance is covering some of the fees. I'm doing the paperwork. We're trying not to pull you back into all this." There it was, the shift. The thing I'd always wanted but never thought I'd see. "I appreciate that," I said. "Well," she added, "we do have her plan if you want to glance over it, but only if you've got time." I opened the email later that night, skimmed the care plan, and sent back 3 bullet points. No edits, no fixing, just feedback. A week later, Linda texted, "Thanks again. We know you've got your own life now. We're learning not to lean on you like we used to." It wasn't perfect. They still forwarded me random questions now and then. Carla still called to vent, but the default had shifted. They weren't calling me to fix things. They were learning to handle things. And honestly, that was the real win. 2 years later, I was standing on the floor of the Denver Convention Center, watching a crew hang rigging for a tech expo I'd designed from scratch. I had a full team under me now, budgets in the millions, clients that trusted me. The chaos didn't scare me anymore. It felt earned. Every deadline, every vendor fire, every crossed wire was mine to control. And it was my name on the results. On my lunch break, I sat on the loading dock with a sandwich and my phone buzzing beside me. Carla had texted, "Can I run something by you?" Totally fine if you're slammed. I stared at that one for a second. Not because I didn't know how to answer, but because it looked so different from how things used to be. Before, they'd just dump it in my lap. No warning, no pause. Now, they asked. That little shift meant everything. I texted back, "Send it. I've got 10 minutes. And I did, because now it was on my terms. The truth is, I don't resent them. Not anymore. They weren't trying to ruin my life back then. They just never learned how to manage anything on their own. Why would they when I always showed up, clipboard in hand, ready to clean it all up? But walking away, that funeral exit, that cold highway drive, did more than any conversation or sacrifice ever could. It forced them to grow up, and it gave me the space to build a life that wasn't held together by guilt. I still answer when they call, still give advice when they ask, but I'm not the family's fixer anymore. I'm just Jenny, the one who had to leave to finally come home to herself. And honestly, that's enough.